every match.
Fine. 4.
Welcome to Folkscape Live. This evening we have the Wilson family. Say hello.
Hello. Hi.
And we're doing a live question and answer session with them, and we will be asking all of your questions. So if you'd like to submit a question to the Wilson family, you need to go to folkscape.qna.click and submit your juiciest questions for the Wilson family. And this is by way of advertising the gig on Saturday, the 6th of July. And you're performing at the Glass House, right? We're live streaming on Folkscape live. How are preparations going for that?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
We've just worked out what we're doing.
Yeah.
We've just done a set list.
It's about the earliest we've actually done a set list in our whole career.
Yeah.
And if you bear in mind that the show is called 50 Years of Sibling Revivalry, i.e. 50 years of us singing folk songs together, that's quite a record, being the first time we've ever done a list before the night.
Yeah.
That should be quite a set list as well if it's covering 50 years.
Yeah, we just whittled it. Well, we say we've got a set list, so we've whittled it down to 80 songs anyway, so we should be all right by Saturday.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, it sounds fabulous. Yeah, like I said, there's live stream tickets available on the website, folkscape.live, and the virtual doors open at 7:30, and music starts at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
So we've got some questions for you. Are you ready?
Aye. Yeah.
Sound raring to go. I've been asked to establish at the beginning of this who you all are and what your age order is. I don't think you have to specify your age, but apparently we'd like to know the sibling order.
To make it very simple for
Come
you.
to show, there's a backdrop.
Yeah.
It tells you.
You can open a book on it if you like.
Aye.
Yeah.
You and your
Bet on it.
But for
Bet on it.
you and your viewers, a simple way to do it for tonight is
Yes.
that we'll just do it one by one. We're in age order as you look at the screen. So
Yeah.
Which way?
I'm Tom.
Steve. He started from the right.
I'm Tom,
I'm Chris.
Steve. And I'm Mike.
and that's in age order.
You'll have to work out which way around. All I'll say is that Tom is said, I'm Tom, yeah? And he's very keen to say I'm Tom as many times as he can at the moment, while he can still say I'm Tom.
And remember,
So if you work it out which way it is from age order,
And
that'll give you a clue.
you also have to take in consideration that Mum had to have at least 1 year recovery after each one of us.
Oh, good point.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, biologically,
you
that's,
can tell the people that they can bet on it, but they have to be careful, especially if they're the Tory party. You don't want to be betting on things that you don't already know about, perhaps.
I think it's too late for some of the
too
Tory
late.
party. Yeah. The ones who got found out are very sad about it, very, very upset about it. Yeah.
Is it a partner, but a little...
No.
I was going to say, are we keeping the politics out of this one? It's not
keep
question
the
time.
We never do.
No, fair enough. Right, first question then. And that is, how did you realise you could sing together?
Oh, well.
Trial and error, I guess. No, what very, very, very brief synopsis is that Chris and Steve, when Steve was still at school, I think you were just about left, hadn't you?
No, I'm still at school.
No, I think you were just about left, hadn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. And they stumbled across a folk club down in Billingham, which is where we used to live, and started singing together. Steve played
I played flute.
Yeah, you can say.
So I played flute, and so the first spots that I used to get at the folk club, I just played anything on the flute, classical basically, because I was doing my grade 8. And then for some reason, we seemed to win all of the albums every raffle. And it was the likes of the Dransfields and the Furies, and we just learned it all. And that's how we started as a two-part. And then Tom came back from London, and we started. He'd been doing some singing down there.
His way in.
But we started doing.
But I won the Billingham show when I was 9, singing "Do Our Diddy Diddy Dum Diddy Do." So that's how I realised.
The writing was on the wall.
The writing was on the wall at 8-year-old.
I think you should reference Manfred Mann for
absolutely. Paul Jones, me and Paul Jones.
So they get the royal.
So from that point, it was all downhill.
As to how it works, why it works. There's a stroke. I think there's a stroke of luck in that we to have the range that the family naturally have is unusual. So we've got Steve, he's a bass singer, naturally a bass singer. We got Tom, and back in the day, Trish and Ken, who didn't want to sing anything other than melody, and then me and Chris, who can go in other places, harmony. So that range is unusual, I think. Yeah, but it worked. We were lucky. Yeah.
Were you just sort of singing away at home? Did you kind of get together and actually sing together, or like?
Yeah, Mum and Dad got us a little cassette tape. Was it red or black? Black. Cassette tape recorder as a Christmas present. Yeah, and it's a big family, and there wasn't much money going around, but so every present that we got tended to be a communal one or had a communal element, even if it wasn't supposed to be. Even scale extra. That's another story. But yeah, so I remember. I think our Jack still got the recordings of us all huddled around a microphone. We always seemed to be singing. It wasn't necessarily folk music, but we were always singing. I think we always had
from the folk music perspective. We in very early days, we started our own club. So me and Chris used to go to a club called Black Horse, and more or less a year later, we started a workshop type sing around folk club. So although it was only me, Chris, and Tom at the time, as Ken and Mike sort of got to drinking age or thereabouts, they came into the club. So we were used to each other's voices, not necessarily singing together, but we actually started, because we've all got our own repertoire, but we started to hear each other's voices. And then at a point, we were asked if we could do a booking as the family. And that's when we started picking up individuals' songs and saying, okay, can we do this as harmony song? That's how it all came together.
I guess the one question that's often asked is it like intergenerational? Did we have people who were in our family who used to sing? General answer to that is no, although we did have a granddad who was quite a performer and quite a lad playing the mouth organ and having a bit of a laugh in the pubs. So he was well renowned in a pub called the Sally in Billingham. So yeah, but we didn't. And my dad used to sing Little White Rose and things like that while he was having a shave before he went to the Catholic club. And but we turned it on its head in that we got Mum involved in folk music, and Mum became quite a character on the folk scene, and she also did find her own repertoire of songs as well, which was great, really, in that way.
Yeah.
I think people want to hear that a lot, don't they? When they're talking to you, you're a trad, or certainly do trad folk material, and they kind of want to know that it comes from generations before you, and you've kind of learnt the songs from somebody that you're related to. But actually, I think a lot of us discover it away from our families and kind of end up getting influenced by other people. So were there people that came to your sing around and folk club that you were running that really influenced you at the start?
Well, the folk club that me and Chris first started in, they used to have regular guests, and they were sort of turned out to be friends eventually, but very much influences on what we sing and how we sing. So people like Tony Rose and, as I said, Dransfield, the Watersons,
Swan Arcade.
So they all came through the door. So they were all sort of part of the influence of how we turned out.
And it depends how it was at the time. I mean, when me and Steve sang together early on, it was people like one of your compatriots, Peter Coe. Peter and Christine were very, very, very influential on Steve and myself singing.
Pete Coe did it brilliant. Here at the Wellington Folk Club last Thursday.
I think if you've hit on a very good point, that where did our influences come from, and how, a big question that's always asked is, the longevity of us singing as the Wilson family for 50 years. And I think part of that, a big part of that, in fact, is that what we we did from the very start is we decided that we could see how other folk clubs were being run, and we weren't entirely enamored by that. So we took it upon ourselves to run our own folk club, and we did that in 1974. We started our own folk club, and we've probably haven't looked. I haven't had BBC Verified check this out, but I'm sure they will come to the same conclusion that I think we're probably the only folk club that is run continuously week after week, save World Wars, continuously
for 100 years,
for 50 years. Not in the same venue. We've moved venues a few times, but for instance, where we are at this present time in this room, the Wellington, we moved here. I think it was about 1991,
33 years ago,
and we're still here now. You know, but we'd been running folk clubs in different pubs for a long period before that. And what that does, it opens doors of opportunity to you, that you're not just being influenced by the so-called, you know, megastars or whatever. You're listening to ordinary people trying to sing ordinary songs the way it suits them. And every now and again you come across a gem. And we were very, very lucky in that in the second pub that we ran a folk club in, the Collingwood, we had a regular member used to come along every week, a guy called Robin Dale, and he was a great friend of Graham Miles. Now, Graham Miles, nobody knew Graham Miles at the time, but Graham would come along each week.
Graham's friends did.
Yes, they did. Yeah.
Somebody knew him.
And we,
his mum and dad knew him.
And we got to know Graham, and we got to know his songs, and the rest, as to say, is history. But what's really nice is that guy Robin Dale, who came along back in the mid-70s to the Collingwood, is still the father of the house, as we call him, at our folk club today.
Mm.
He still comes along every week to our folk club here. So it's a great continuity. It's a great sort of, you know.
And we'll be performing one of Graham Miles' songs on Saturday.
I'll be joining us on Saturday for a song,
Oh, fabulous. Oh, well, you've heard it here. There'll be some guests then, surprise guests, or are you going to announce all the guests beforehand?
No, some surprises. Yeah.
Right, and that's for the concert on the 6th of July, this Saturday.
Yeah.
Again, you can get your tickets from folkscape.live. And whilst I'm at it as well, you can keep asking your questions, submit them at folkscape.qa.click. And yes, we'd love to have your questions to ask. I've got another question here that says, how did you decide on your harmonies, or does it just happen?
We just recently did a thing with that was organised by Richard Arrowsmith and
Melrose
James and the Melrose last year, and it was very successful. It was the first time that started.
No, it was early this year.
Oh, was it this year?
Yeah.
Well, I've missed a couple of years out. And what was interesting was that we were asked to do a workshop, and the very all the harmony groups who were there did workshops. And we thought we didn't have a great deal to contribute because ours tend to be a bit like Johnny Collins used to say. It was like a melting pot, like soup, and you throw it in, mix it around and see what comes out. But it was interesting when you started to look into it and talk to other people about harmonies that actually you were doing it without knowing. I mean, Jess Arrowsmith is notoriously very good at she's musical theory, and the workshops were quite interesting to do. But our way of working largely is that we get a song, we throw it together, we sing the song, and for what comes from that is then we develop, as Mike said earlier on, you've got a bass in Steve, and you've got a melody in Tom, and me and Mike vie for the wacky positions other than that. And I think the main thing is, and it's not being pedantic, it's getting get a good group of people together to sing, and it usually works quite well. We really enjoy our music, and I think I think that our way of singing harmony music is that we get the song and then we work it all together ourselves.
We always start with the melody,
Yeah.
so that we all understand the melody of the song. Then we just sort of.
Yeah.
But more than anything else, I think it's enthusiasm. Yeah, you know, you learn a song, you like the song, you sing it with enthusiasm, and somebody, if you really, you know, going for it, will come up with a harmony, and then you think, oh, great.
I think we've all seen occasions when enthusiasm doesn't work.
Oh, yeah.
Like
I think for us, it's the melody is the key. A key that we're comfortable in is the structure of it. There's no point hitting a key that not everyone is going to be comfortable with, and the melody. And once you've got that, we've been singing together for such a long time that pretty much anything can happen around those two things.
And I think also that the fact Steve said something earlier on about we've all been in the same family for a long time, so we wander around, we talk to each other as kids. You've got you understand everyone's different thing. It's in your head. Their voice is in your head. Even when we talk, you can tell the differences of how the tune and the sound is, and what you get.
We even have nightmares about it.
We do lots.
So there's two basic ways, isn't there? There's our free flow way, which is longhand, if you like. It changes with every performance. Or there's other groups that sing harmony lines, and everybody has a harmony line, and they would never deviate from it. And the only thing that varies is obviously the quality of the voices that deliver those harmony lines musically. The lines never change. But with us, it can change from one performance to another. That often does.
I actually got kicked out of the choir at school because I couldn't stick to the set harmonies.
Yeah,
that feeling.
Is it a case of never the same way once?
Oh yeah,
probably yeah.
Apart from when we sing with Sting.
We did cause one of the greatest musical geniuses that was, you know, currently living on the planet, a guy called Rob Mathers, who was Sting's musical director for The Last Ship. And Rob sort of reads music like you and I and most of your viewers would probably, you know, read a narrative in a book. He just sees dots and he reads them. And we did cause him a few heartaches, didn't we? With the way we couldn't quite stick to what he wanted to do, but the validation was given by Sting and said, "Let's just do it the Wilson way, Rob."
Now, earlier on you recorded a song for us to play, so I think we're going to cue that up and play that now.
Very good.
2, 3.
John Barleycorn is a hero, bold as any in the land. His fame has stood for ages good and shall forever stand. The whole wide world respects him, no matter friend or foe. And where they be that makes to free, he's sure to lay them low. Hey, John Barleycorn, oh, John Barleycorn, old and young thy praises sung. John Barleycorn, to sing his bridal robe, his robes are rich and green. His head is filled with goodly bit, fit nigh to serve the Queen. And when the harvest time comes around and John is stricken down, he'll use his blood for England's good and Englishmen's renown. Hey, John Barleycorn, oh, John Barleycorn, old and young thy praises sung. John Barleycorn, the lord in courtly castle, the squire name, to John for succor come. He bids the troubled heart rejoice, brings warmth to nature's cold, makes weak men strong and all men young, and all men brave and bold. Hey, John Barleycorn, oh, John Barleycorn, old and young thy praise and song. John Barleycorn, then shout for great John Barleycorn, nor heed the luscious vine. I have no mind but charm to find in a potent draught of the wine. Give me my native brown ale, all other drinks and scorn. For English cheer is English beer, our own John Barleycorn. Hey, John Barleycorn, oh, John Barleycorn, old and young thy praise and song. John Barleycorn.
Really good.
Okay, so I believe that was you singing John Barleycorn.
So
That's the one we recorded. So if it was anything else,
it wasn't us.
yeah.
And
It
we'll
was
say
Shania
cheers to
Twain
that.
at Glastonbury.
Cheers.
Oh yes,
Well,
cheers to John
John
Barleycorn.
Barleycorn, yeah.
Yes, I've got no beer.
Same.
Oh, dear.
If it wasn't us, it was AI.
Oh, can you imagine? That's terrible.
No.
No.
So we're going to talk a bit about your latest album. I believe you've been touring it for about the last year. Was it released last year?
Yep,
And I have to get this
pretty much a year
right
ago.
because I read a review that called it Sibling Rivalry, and it's not called that at all, is it? It's called
I've never
Sibling
been
Revivalry.
Sibling Revivalry, yeah.
So, yeah, you've been gigging it for about the last year. Can you tell us what has it got a theme? I'm assuming it's the last 50 years of your singing careers.
50 years, yeah, I guess.
And it was all new songs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
None of the songs are on. Any
Yeah, we wanted to do everything on it's not been recorded before, so it was like we've done 50 years, but we've still got all these songs that we've not touched yet. So it's just, and there's another half an album in the can that because we don't get in the studio that often now. We're not prolific, we've done 6 albums or whatever. So while we were in the studio, we're working with Ian Stevenson in a lovely studio down in Northumberland.
Yeah.
And it's fabulous, and Ian's fabulous. So while we were working with Ian, we thought, well, we just crack on. So we've got some interesting stuff already in the can for the next one as well. So it's just been great to go and do these new songs.
It's a great example of the way we work, actually, and that was sort of intentional, I think, in that it's a collection of songs that a good proportion of which are songs that have come out of our individual repertoires over the years, but we've always thought, oh, that would be a good one for to do as a group song. But we never got round to it because we had so many other songs that we were comfortable with. But when we got up to the studio and started doing some of these things, we thought, they will really work very well as group songs. So that's a bit like we've done over the 50 years of singing together. Sometimes it's been, any one of us as individuals have been singing a song for a while, and the rest have symbiotically learnt it because you've heard your brothers singing it, for a long time, and gradually you just feel you can move with that and bring it in. So that there's quite a few of them on the album.
I think we've all got different things as well when it comes to recording and things like that. I personally like to do a lot of live stuff. I prefer live than recording at all. And and the bits that I thought we did on the new album were it's interesting that once you go and listen to them after you've started to record them, how exceptional they can be on a recording, which he didn't think were going to be. I'm thinking particularly things like You In For The All, which was a fantastic song. I've never really had it up on my list of best ones, and yet it just sounded so good. Partly to do with Ian, because Ian keeps things simple, and he's very, because he's so clued in to what he's listening to. He's made such a fantastic job of that album. And as Mike was saying as well, we've got another half of it because we just carried on. We had so many hours in the studio, and we thought, well, we'll just carry on, and we've cracked on to basically have almost another one in the bag.
Yeah, but I mean, Ian's idea was definitely to reflect sort of our preference for live performance. Yeah. So they're all sort of they're all more or less first takes, and there's very little overdubbing or anything like that. What Ian's very good at that is trying to reflect a true representation of your live performance.
Your live stuff, yeah. And that is really important, isn't it? When it's group singing, you can make something sound really clinical by splitting it all up, and you're not reacting to each other. And I can see how.
No, we were in four minds as to which way to finish one of the tracks on the album. And as it was written by Sting, we referred back to him because it was a little bit of effect and overdub and what have you on it. Whereas, like I say, Chris was going for the straightforward version or whatever. We should have known, like Sting's produced loads of, so a bit of echo wasn't phasing Sting out at all. So he went, go for that one, it's gorgeous, so I happen to agree with it, of course. But other than that, he just sounded up the room, and it's a converted church. And he just sounded up this converted church. It's just a blissful place to sing harmony,
Really comfortable as well, comfortable setting.
It is. Yeah.
So, I mean, sort of acoustically, the place is what our preference sort of acoustically to singing. So Ian gets the best of both worlds because we're comfortable in that environment, and he can sort of he uses it as a studio for a number of sort of bands that he's recorded. So he's comfortable with the room, and we're comfortable with the room. So you've got it ticks both boxes.
But it is interesting that you say about recordings and what can be done. You can do all sorts on recording, absolutely all sorts. And I think it's always interesting when you hear. I got something through from Seb Stone, who you might know Seb, and Seb had come through with something he's recently done, and I was so pleased that he'd done it in a very straightforward manner, because it must be so much, especially a young lad, temptation to go all over when he's such a very, very sort of clever musician and natural singer. But this, you see, for us, we, as again Mike said earlier on about you sometimes don't get the same. It's not discernibly massively different, but when we go to every song we sing can be very, very just a bit different every time, because someone on that day might fancy for a wacky harmony.
So that
surprises everyone else, but it's good.
It probably in a way it means that we have to manage it to sound like the way we want it to be, because we can't go in and overdub on some occasions, because there's no guarantee. And Ian's brilliant; he's a fantastic musician. He got that pretty straight. There's no point asking him to go and overdub anything, because they might do it differently, And once you get your head around that, that's fine. But he did.
Someone goes, "Can you do that bit again?" And you go, "Oh, what did I do?"
No, that's right. Going back to Sting, I remember watching when we were working, and I remember watching the first interview on the telly with him, and I was like, well, I wonder whether he mentioned it because he's working with these Northeastern musicians and it's all about the Northeast and whatever. And I was really looking forward to what he would say. And he turned around and he says, "Oh yeah," he says, and it's the interviewer said, "Oh, you're working with Catherine Tickell and the Wilsons family and blah, blah, blah." Yeah. He said, "A whole load of musicians from the Northeast." He says, "Oh yeah, the Wilson family." He says, "Yeah, they're these brothers." He says, "So they've got this family sound." He said, "But we found that they won't stay to the line very often. And I was like, oh, that's great. You know, this megastar has just slagged us off on the telly, you know, but he was being nice about it. But what he was saying is exactly true. You know, Rob Mathis, the MD, the musical director, would actually get frustrated because he'd give us a line to sing and we'd go, well, yeah, it's all right after 5 goes, but by the 6th go, you want to do something different. You go, no, don't do anything different. Just sing it the way that it's supposed to be.
But I think the key to the album, yes, is you know, about how did it come about and what its contents are. I think the key to the album, I don't know whether we did mention earlier on, but we probably intended to, that, you know, over the albums that we've recorded over the years, and you know, within our repertoire, that we could still do probably, you know, 80% of now. There's something like between 80, 90 songs.
Wow.
And you can't do 80, 90 songs in every gig. You know, the best you're going to manage.
Well, your introductions, we can.
No,
Quite.
the best you're going to manage is maybe 20 songs. But what's good about the Sibling Revivalry album that we've just done is that already at least half a dozen of those songs have got into our preferred repertoires in gigs.
Probably more than any other album, I would say.
I would think so. So that you know, that's a good indication that it's an album that we're quite happy with the content of.
It is a good point. Yeah, I mean, all the albums we've been happy with. Like we were looking at. Well, we have just been putting the set together, by the way, for Saturday. We were looking at Grey Locker 2, and we go, oh, it's a great song. Why don't we do that anymore? You know, and I suppose apart from the Wilson Family album, which was to represent what we were doing at that time anyway, so there would be songs that were in our repertoire, and that's just what the album was. For us to do a new album and quite a lot of new material coming into it, and for us to now be singing most of that album still, you know, with enthusiasm and wanting to do it, says a lot about the fact that we're really happy with the songs that we've put on.
Yeah, and I think it's, again, when you talked about it's the people, I don't think we've done it on purpose, but the people we've ended up recording us is quite interesting, really.
Steve
Stocking Tops, and he did it live, and he was great because he was coming over with all sorts of ideas that we should do all the.
We should clarify really for your viewers. Steve Rusby, he used to be called Steve Rusby. He's now known as Kate Rusby's dad, but he used to be called Steve Rusby.
Yeah. So, but the others, Gordon Jones, excellent at what he does. He was in Silly Wizard years ago, and so you've got these people. The only one who really got us, and he was absolutely exceptional at getting the best out of us, was Clive Gregson. Mm-hmm. And Clive was quite interesting because we'd done a single, and he was so gentle with us in the way of saying, I think you've probably got a better one in you, you know, all the time and things like this. But he wanted it to be what he had in his mind as well.
But the fact that he took us on for the techno dance mix of the single, I think that was encouraging from the beginning.
Yeah.
Now you've already there's been a couple of name drops, Sting that you worked with. A few, you might have mentioned it. I mean, it must be a strange thing to find yourself like texting Sting to see how you should end one of the pieces on your album, I imagine. But one of the questions we've got here is it right that you sang in unison when you worked with Sting? And was that weird, having been used to harmony singing? Now, I'm guessing it was.
That's a great question. Yeah. That is a really good question because, as we've already alluded to, we were asked to sing in unison on a couple of tracks and within the show, because what Rob and Sting wanted to do was to lay down strong harmonies as a backing to, I forget which song it was. And so he said the way to do this is you've all got to sing in unison, but then I'll overlay that with you're all singing in unison with a different harmony.
So what we actually did,
it was layered up.
What we did was we sang each harmony part, but all four of us in unison of that harmony part. So there was 4 parts. All 4 of us sang the same parts.
There was
There
7. There was me,
but then
there was us. There was
49 voices in the end.
Yeah.
Wow.
But we all sang. We all sang the same line, and that was not something that came naturally to us at all. You know,
It was one of the main songs on it. I think it was the name of the show, wasn't it?
oh, it was the last show.
It was, and so oh, the roar of the chains and the cracking of timbers, the noise at the end of the world in your ears. And that was but then you go, oh, the roar of the chains. And then there was, you know, and it was quite interesting, that wasn't
But we all sang that line.
it?
So we sang the 3 or 4 different harmonies, but we'd all sing it together. So there was 7 of us all singing the same line. So Sting, Jimmy Nail. I just thought I'd drop that one in because we haven't yet.
Yeah,
and Chris, Tom, Chris, Steve, Ken, and me.
And Tom would go, I don't do anything other than melody. And Rob's going, you will. You do, Tom. You can do it. And he got you to sing them all, Tom.
But in actual fact, I still maintain this. Chris and I have had this conversation on lots of times, that I wasn't. I still haven't sang a harmony because I wasn't singing against anybody else. I was singing the melody that was given to me, albeit it was a different one each time.
Which is why you're great in your position in the group.
It was all the right notes, but not necessarily in the right order.
Yeah, you were.
It's a good job they didn't ask you to sing Biker Hill.
So Sting writes a melody,
yeah,
and then the harmony line is there. The fact that we all sang the harmony line,
for me, it was just another melody.
I know it was, Tom.
But the thing is also sort of when we do actually sing in unison, there's the odd occasion where we actually start a song or maybe one of the verses. It actually strengthens the song by singing in unison and just sing the melody. But of course, it's the same as sort of all the family groups. You can sing in unison the same melody, but it sounds like a harmony.
We used to do voice blending and stuff, didn't we? In the earlier days, it was much more voice blending than it was actual harmonies. It was just sort of, letting our voices sort of mold into one another, but they were all a bit different, so it was okay,
I've got another question, another sort of Sting-related question. Who else apart from Sting would you fancy working with?
Ooh,
you get a different answer from each one of them.
Yeah. One regret was we were in New York on doing some shows, and he's brilliant, the genius, the guy I'm going to mention. But Sting came round to our green room. It was all shared at central green room, but we all had our little green rooms off it. And Sting came round and introduced Paul Simon to us, because Sting and Paul Simon were going on a world tour after the last ship shows that we were doing in New York, which was great. And I mean, particularly for Tom Hughes, your generation, and it was, and he is fantastic. But for me personally, and they'll all have the different views, a couple of years later, Sting did the same, did another tour working with Peter Gabriel. And Peter Gabriel is my musical hero from the early days of Genesis right the way to today. So for me, I was like that close to sort of meeting Peter Gabriel and begging him to do some backing vocals on one of his albums. Steve, so that would be me.
Steve,
I'm still waiting for Bruce Springsteen to give us a call.
Right.
Chris?
Maria Callas. I think she's fantastic, sir.
Well, during that whole experience...
and she could probably sing just as good harmony as me.
Oh, and Kate Bush. If Kate Bush is watching, Kate, you as well. Probably be Peter, to be honest.
But during that whole experience that we had with the Last Ship project and Sting, we did other things other than the shows. We went on various sort of TV promo type things, chat shows and stuff like that. I caution to say that we were just the backing singers. We weren't, we asked these personal questions like you're asking this evening. But we did Jools Holland, didn't we? Show, and there there was a guy on the same show who was the tall, baser one out of the Righteous Brothers. And yeah, if any of you viewers are old enough to remember the Righteous Brothers, they were brilliant. And it were just two guys, one low, one high, and they just made a perfect sound together. What was he?
And he asked to sing with you.
Yeah, he did.
And I was saying, we do. You never close your eyes anymore when I kiss your lips.
So that's the generational gap here.
And he was always an absolute hero of mine, even though I can't remember.
Well, give him the courtesy of learning his name next time.
Yeah, I would have. And yes, I'd like to sing with him, on it again.
There you go.
Right, we're going to
Any of the Wilson family.
We're going to do some quick fire questions now, if you can act that. Who is the funniest?
What way? Do you mean it's funny?
Well, let's start with funny ha and then go to funny odd.
I think Peter Cook.
You want to go to family?
You're not gonna. It's strange, isn't it? Because if you ask that question, obviously someone like the young ones, they would say David Eagle. You're that type of thing you're looking for. For us, I think we can all be sometimes on the stage, sometimes not on the stage, sometimes where we are. We've all got a bit of crack in us.
Yeah, so it's more a joint crack thing, It's not an individual.
Yeah.
It's a family thing that we've inherited. Yeah. Yeah. We've all had the operation though, so we're great now.
Okay, who was the naughtiest when you were younger?
Stephen.
Oh, really?
Me.
Stephen was the middle child. Steve,
say no more.
I'm still the middle child, actually, Tom.
Steve is the middle child.
He wandered a bit. That's all.
I'd often see my mum, poor lass, say, "Where's our Stephen? We've lost our Stephen again." And he'd be wandering off on his trike, his little tricycle, and just disappearing off in, along beyond the boundaries of our street ends, which always worried Mum.
Yeah.
But he got over it by the time he was 19.
So does that mean Steve's not the naughtiest anymore then?
I don't think you could say that.
Okay, let's move on. What job did you do, or what was the favourite job that you have done in your life apart from being professional folk singers?
That's a good question.
Easy for me because it was the same one all the way through.
Right.
I worked in IT.
Yeah. I was an architect.
Mm-hmm.
You started off. I'm engineering. I run an engineering company. So mechanical and electrical engineering. For anybody who wants to send a CV in.
The most varied.
Chris started off in British in steel, same as me, same as where I ended up. But then took a different path.
Yeah, I eventually was the sort of children's service manager for the North East for Bernardo's for counselling stuff for kids.
Mm-hmm.
And I enjoyed that far better than counting profits and loss for steel and things like that.
Yeah.
But tightrope walking was my favourite. I didn't really do.
Sounds fabulous. Right.
I wasn't too keen on the tights.
Do you know what? I was going to say something about tights, but I thought
Don't go
there. Who do you admire as a singer, folky or non-folky? That might be the same answers as who do you want to work with, but say what you like.
We were up at, for me, there's so many. We've been lucky enough. We didn't touch on the traditional singers that were still around when we were starting off. We were very, very lucky to end up being friends and being in the same room as Fred Jordan singing, or Willie Scott, or the Blairs, the Blair Gowrie crowd, or the Stewarts. So that was one thing. But for me, we were up at Edinburgh a couple of weeks back as part of their 50th celebrations, wasn't it? They booked all sorts of people this year, and they asked us to go and sing at Edinburgh Folk Club. And Dick Gaughan came out to come and have a listen.
That's
and he doesn't often venture out to the club. So that was a great honour for us that Dick ventured out.
yeah.
And he's always a hero anyway, but I reminded myself of his back catalogue when I got back home, and he's sublime, absolutely sublime. So I'd said to Dick when I was up there, I didn't realise how much he had influenced me as a singer, but bloody brilliant, fantastic singer.
Steve? But I think Martin Carthy got to be. Yeah, I think probably Martin I would plumb for.
Chris?
Martin, obviously, as well. But I would turn around and say a lot of singers who don't necessarily get known by anyone in the folk concerts and folk clubs, but are fantastic singers. There's a guy called one of my favourite singers is a lad called Alan Pryor, and he's absolutely brilliant. And he's also great fun, which counts a lot for me. But I go to a lot of folk clubs, and I think I'm always interested and entertained by the floor singers in folk clubs as well. And some of them are just as good as the sublime people we're talking about.
For me, it would be on a folksy thing, jointly Peter Bellamy and Tony Rose. Outside of that, I'd put in a curveball, Tom Jones.
Ooh, nice. And is it just
because he's still doing it at the age of 96?
Well, that's unusual. I didn't expect that one, Tom. I expected Otis Redding.
Yeah. But then I could go on and on, so no, let's not go there.
Okay, but slightly related question. We'll do one more quick fire question. What other music are you into apart from folk music?
Wow. There you go.
I'll open up and say that the reason I got into folk music was a chance encounter in Hammersmith Folk Club in London. This is while Chris and Steve were getting into folk music up here. I was living in London at the time. And the only reason I got into folk music was because I was into rock and soul, as Chris just mentioned. Otis Redding was my favourite soul singer. But my favourite band were a band called Mountain, but I was into Cream, Hendrix, and still am. Love them a bit. And there was a poster as I came out of the tube station at Hammersmith saying that Long John Baldry was appearing at Hammersmith Folk Club. And I thought, well, he's a good blues guy. I'll go along and see that. And then he was great, but there was a lot of other weird singers singing folk songs that quite, intrigued me, and that's how I got into folk music.
There it is.
Chris?
I just love folk music. Actually, I don't have a great deal in many others. I have lots I don't like. I hate Americana. I really hate Americana. And I would say the other thing I do like is a bit of classical music. I like classical music. And I also
come on, Chris. Not on Desert Island.
I also like to listen to choirs like the things you get at Christmas, the top of the singers that sing at Christmas carols in big churches. But I like folk music most.
I think one of my favourite albums ever is Tapestry. I could listen to every song on that is a classic.
Yeah, can't disagree with that.
Yeah. Very wide taste.
Yeah.
In music. So given aside that our passion is folk music and we're fanatical about it, and that's probably where we come from, rather than it coming from mum and dad, which is fanatical about the folk music. For me, Kate Bush would be still there as I go back to and listen to. I think she's genius. Gabriel, early Genesis. But even a mate of mine came to the club for my birthday recently. We've been friends since we were kids at college. And he said, I've been looking for years for a tribute band to Rush. And I said, there's no such thing as a tribute band to Rush. Nobody's that good. All right. And he said, yeah, but these aren't. They've played at Neil Peart's garden party. Anybody who knows Rush, Neil Peart, the second greatest drummer ever that was lived. And he said, they're that good. So I went to see them with my son, who started playing on the last couple of months going to college. He played Working Man by Rush on his iPhone as a selection going to. I was so proud. The tears were coming down. He's playing stuff from Rush, and I'd never prompted him. Anyway, so yeah, I went to see them last Friday, and they played Hemispheres the whole half, and I was delighted. So yeah, progressive, very clever rock music would be some of the stuff that
That's all incoherent.
Yes, Anthony, could I just say that Rush won't be appearing at the Glasshouse on Saturday?
Sadly not.
Yeah. Well, that's a lovely link into wrapping up the interview, because I'm going to mention again that you can buy your tickets to see the Wilson family at the Glasshouse, our live stream from Folkscape.live. Virtual doors open at 7:30, and the music kicks off at 8:00. And yeah, you can still get your tickets there. I've got a couple more things that I would like to ask you. David from Folkscape says, can Folkscape come and do a live stream from your folk club?
Yeah,
Well,
I don't see
yeah.
why not. Yeah, as long as it doesn't get it. The interesting thing about the folk club, we used to have a guest every month before the pandemic. Quite religiously, and we put a great guest list together of legends of the folk scene that we were going to have.
Yeah.
And after COVID, though, when people started to come back and could sing again in a community, in communal singing, virtually everyone said, you know what, for the moment, we're not that bothered about guests at the club. Can we just have sing-arounds, because it's just so great to be back singing together again. So anyone can come to the club, and anyone can film at the club. And we've had this before where people have wanted to film. But as long as it doesn't intrude on what this club's about, which is a sing-around.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
that came back loud and clear from our regular.
I think the best thing would be to arrange it with Mike and Tom as organisers.
Yeah, it'd be great.
But I can confirm that they're fabulous. Brian and I have had them film a couple of our gigs, and it's very easy to forget that they're there, which is a problem. Right.
Well, we'll try them out on Saturday at the Glasshouse.
Absolutely. Yeah. Right. So, last question for you: where else can we see you this summer gigging?
We're very busy. Yeah, very busy. Yeah. So if you go to www.thewilsonfamilyalbum.co.uk, and there's a gig list on there, and that's pretty well up to date with. But we've got the thing on Saturday, then we hightail off down to, sadly, the last Cleckheaton Festival.
Oh, I'll see you there.
I'll see you there. On Sunday, we're doing a concert with the Melsons.
Oh, fabulous.
The Quartet and the Wilson family. And we're doing quite a bit of that this year for the first time. We're doing more than we have the odd ones that we've done. And then from there on,
it's every weekend.
From there on in, we're off to Rothbury after that, and then we're off to Portugal. Saltburn,
everywhere.
Yeah.
No time for a holiday this year.
Lots going on, but yeah, the best place to go: www.thewilsonfamilyalbum.co.uk, and it'll all be on there.
And what you're doing next? I'm going outside to see my partner dance in a Morris side outside the pub.
This is such a folky family.
What else did you do? Yeah. Amazing. Thank you so much for answering all our questions. And good luck with the concert. So I'm going to remind everybody again, tickets on folkscape.live, and that's Saturday the 6th of July, live from the Glasshouse. And actually, my mum brought me a glass of wine.
Hey.
I'd like to say cheers to that.
Cheers.
Thanks for
the
empty glasses.
We'll see you next week.
Me and Brian playing Cleckheaton.
We'll see you there. Yeah.
For all of your audience who'll be able to join us virtually on Saturday, we'll have a virtual pint with them.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Fabulous. Thanks ever so much. Have a good Saturday. And thank you ever so much to everybody that's watching at home.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.